Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 2 coverage of the Cold Hollow Classic. Disc Golf Vermont stop number 10. Angus Barstow in the booth here, joined with the mastermind of Greatest Media Team, Raivis. How you doing, man?
I'm doing so good. It's exciting to be back in Vermont. We were just here in August, actually, but we had to come back, and we have a special surprise because we were able to get somebody to film, so I will actually be also playing here, so I'm very excited.
A rare treat. Usually you have to be behind the camera, but today we get to see you dropping putts and snaking lines. Here's a beautiful aerial footage of the surrounding area to Cold Hollow, an absolutely gorgeous course. Curtis and Jade Rogers have done amazing things. This course is also not old, and it is already one of the favorites in Vermont. So looking forward to seeing these shots.
And look at this lead card. Oh, wow. We got Johnny Betts, who's only like 10 minutes down the road, and the owner of Black Falls. We got Clayton Davis, who's an outstanding forehand player. You're going to see some nasty drives. Myself and Evan Spur, who's actually part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour and throws a lot of awesome shots with his Wraiths and Firebirds. So you're going to see some awesome action with him.
Yeah, this card has an amazing variety in it. You got, Raivis, I think it's safe to say you're an almost only backhand player, and you do have a mean overhand, though. We'll see that at one point. And then we have Clayton, who's just the master of the forehand. Johnny, who's as veteran as it gets in golfing. And then Evan, who's got essentially every shot and is a tremendous putter. So it's a great variety of skill set. Here we can see some of the hangout in the clubhouse the night before. One of the greatest parts of Cold Hollow is just the scene and the community that they bring. A great pro shop. You know, just a great place to spend some time, hang out with friends, or rent a teepee and spend the whole weekend.
Or brag about how you had the first 1,000 rated round at Cold Hollow and then find out you actually didn't.
A classic.
Yeah, I love you, Johnny. But yeah, we were celebrating here his 50th last year, so it's great to be back again. We have the band, Couscous Roots. I mean, just an awesome partying vibe here. And let's get back to reality. Hole 1, what are your thoughts, Angus?
Hole 1 is a fantastic, iconic hole. You're throwing out the barn, downhill, OB on the left-hand side, along the fence, and then you get to this raised-up green that has a really dangerous slope in the back. It favors a forehand if you have the power, a turnover if you have that shot. You see Johnny going with the turnover and leaking right, which is dangerous because it's very thick in that former apple orchard.
Yeah, but your mistake is right. You don't want to be anywhere near the left side with that OB.
True.
It's going to be Evan with his Wraith. He's going to be putting a lot of power on this, and such a signature hole, getting a kind of a nasty, unfortunate roll.
Yeah, that side of the green often rolls the disc back down, which you're not in danger, and you can usually save your par, but it makes the birdie putt very difficult. Clayton throws a little high on this shot, so it comes in a bit early, but that's also, like you said, the safe miss, and he should be able to easily up and down for his par.
Clayton took his Wraith and just showing his power there with his forehand, and I'm just going to be taking my Essence backhand. Unfortunately, just didn't get the height. Let's see if Johnny can sneak through here to save his par. Looks like he's going to be a little short, actually.
There are a few lanes in that right side under the apple trees, but they are very, very difficult.
Yeah, and you can see I was just laying up and then had to keep an eye on it because I got a nasty little bit of a roll there.
Clayton also plays it safe, ends up checking up nicely. And then we'll see Evan, who has a good putt angle, but I guess trying to get around those trees, just left it a bit short, but easy for the 3.
He made some nasty circle ones during the round 1. So Johnny's going to be laying up, and he's going to be taking a bogey to start off. So we're going to be actually chasing his tail, and some of us will be tied. I'm just happy to make that par. I've been known to miss that from that slanted green there.
I feel like anybody who's played Cold Hollow has looked down that putt for par, and you're right, it doesn't always fall. It's more uphill than it looks, and obviously you want to start this round with a 3. This hole, taking a 3 is a great score. It's seldom birdied.
3.06, only 3 birdies. Shout out to you, Jacob Moore and Tiernan Rowland. And what are your thoughts about hole 2? Another iconic signature hole.
Absolutely. So you have the water carry, which probably is about 200, maybe 180 feet. The real danger on this hole is if you get hung up on the left side in those thick trees. You can cut the corner a bit by playing a straighter line. Evan's going to throw the forehand, but it gets a bit overturned. He actually gets lucky that it doesn't punch farther into that. He lands on short grass because on the other side, it is just treachery.
I played with Evan round 1, and he actually did something very similar that round too. That was his Firebird. He just needs to get a little more tilt on Heiser for that release. And speaking of a great pull, here is Clayton, and sneaking all the way up there.
Total miracle. Yeah.
What do you know? Firebird gets you up there. And I take the non-traditional route. I really like this route. I thought I was going to get up there if it wasn't for that root. Curtis, please get rid of that root, whatever that was.
It looked perfect, though. That little low slider is often really good. Johnny loves to play this sky turnover shot. It unfortunately gets a little hung up, but he's probably at the edge of circle 2. Shouldn't be in any danger of getting a bogey.
And we saw Johnny from last year's coverage, and it was great seeing him on that feature card, and he was throwing his Comet, I bet, there. Based off what I remember him throwing last year.
That does look like his Comet, absolutely. Good run. He putts with a birdie, an underappreciated old Innovamold. I think he's had that one for over 15 years, but he can make it rain from just about anywhere.
It's bad that he hasn't lost it.
Yeah, a miracle.
Not the start that I was looking for. I really wanted this birdie, but I definitely needed to bend my knees a lot more than that if I was going to get that one.
Clayton taps in for the easy 2. The fact that he slid that far forward is fantastic because those saplings in the early part of that hole can really cut you down. On to hole 3. Par 3, 333 feet. Certainly no mistake from Curtis, though it is very uphill. Probably plays a little over 400, I would say. They added OB this year, and on the right-hand side, you can get hung up if you turn it over. Although usually you can say par from there. It's not too thick.
I love the OB changes. I think that makes it a lot better, a lot more pro caliber. I think that's what he's going for at this course. And Clayton, unbelievable throw with his rate there. He is leaning on that already, and you can see he's going to be pushing Johnny Betts and Evan just with that drive right there.
Absolutely. I mean, Clayton's got to have the best power forehand in Vermont. I mean, he's known as a forehand only player, and he makes it work so well. It's he's got every shape out there.
Mm-hmm. And Evan turned his Wraith over a little too much, and I'm throwing uphill as far as I can.
That's a great drive. It's a great drive. I mean, you're straight in the middle. I mean, you could probably run that safely. Maybe even drop it in. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it plays about probably 380, 390, and Johnny still got it. I mean, this guy's 45, and he's still tossing it like that.
Yeah, that's the perfect shape for this hole also. If you get to flip up and just drift towards the pin, if you get a big side-to-side play on this, you usually lose the speed.
Yeah, and I take it back. He's actually 50. We celebrated his 50th last year.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That was a great party, and that's kind of what you get out here at Cold Hollows, as well as other Disc Golf Vermont Tour events. Oh, I thought I was going to make that one.
Oh, it looked so good. Absolutely.
But like you said, I was able to run that one. So here's Johnny for his birdie.
Oh,
wow.
What a putt.
Yeah, pushes it right back and takes the edge on Clayton there. That was a really good putt with his 15, 16-year-old birdie.
Incredible stuff, right? I mean, he's got to be midway into circle 2 as well. Certainly no gimme.
Yeah, no, that was probably 41 feet, I would say.
Yeah.
And here's Clayton for about maybe circle's edge.
Yeah, I'd say just outside.
And he's putting with the Pennywise, and let's see if he can put it in there. Woo! So maybe it was inside since he didn't want to follow through there, but that was still a good putt. He's got a nice height to his putt there, and it kind of goes from high to low.
Here, both you and Evan tapping in your pars.
Well, Evan, I think we might have missed a shot. This is actually his bogey, unfortunately. And I'm going to be taking a par, luckily. And there was only 3 birdies on that hole. Shout out to Aiden Tremblay, Clayton, Johnny Betts, Shane Seals, and Zachary Parikh. Great hole.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great one to get. Here's the iconic hole 4. They extended this year, pushed it back probably 150 more feet. It's very downhill, but this green, which is not only beautiful, is very dangerous if you go long. It drops off steeply in the backside, and there's a lot of obstacles. Also, right and left side are very thick. So landing in the middle, even if you're short, is the miss you want on this hole.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this hole. And here is Clayton with his Firebird. I thought he was going to get this one to turn a little more left. He's going to be all right. He should be able to get a 3. So I love this change. I think this is going to become one of my favorite holes, if not already. And Johnny pulling it a great shot here. Look at this float down there all the way down. And he kind of sneaks up there. He's going to have a bid.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably just outside of circle. He wasn't pleased with how long it drifted, but I think with that backhand, that's the shape to throw.
Yeah, so Schyuler actually missed my shot here, but I had a very similar disc and landing spot with this shot. And, you know, being part of Greatest Media Team, we always have clips. So I put one in there just to show folks what my traditional route is here. It's a flex shot, similar to what actually Evan does here, but I actually had it flex even a little more. I threw my DDX, and Evan's going to be throwing his Wraith there.
Yeah, gotcha. He lands, he is far left, but because he landed in the short grass, he's able to pitch up. If you land in those trees, you have to get very creative with how to get to the green.
And speaking of creative, I can't wait to see the OB that's going to be added to make it more even aggressive and difficult.
Yeah, Curtis is he's a schemer when it comes to these changes, but I haven't seen him make a change to this course that wasn't great. He thinks it out very well.
Yeah, for someone that wasn't very happy with his drive, that was a great birdie there by Johnny. This whole average, let's see, 2.91, so almost a par 3.
Wow, look at that. It's just so good. I mean, Johnny, you give him a sniff. He's as good as anyone at reining it in.
And this is my birdie bid here. You can see where my disc landed. Very good spot. Let's just hope I can make this putt.
Whew. Great jam. Yeah, that is parking spot A on this hole. The issue with actually getting out of the circle of stones is because you're usually coming in pretty fast. Almost inevitably, you slide out unless you hit that base that they built up under the target.
Yeah, and I missed that putt round 1, so I was really, really happy to change my putter to the Link and instead of the P1X and make that. So a couple of birdies there. There was only 6 birdies of the day there. Shout out to Eric, Hubert, Johnny, Jonathan Russo, and Andy Cochran.
Yeah, Andrew Cochran, he's a new young player up in Vermont, going to UVM, and incredible talent. We'll be seeing him on a lot of coverage in the future, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Here's hole 5, the shortest hole in the course, but very technical. Downhill, plays a steep right to left. You want to get over this stone wall. You can have a putt if you don't, but the real danger is clipping something early and then having to scramble. If you're off fairway on this hole, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's so short. So you really just want to put your disc on a little bit of tilt, hyzer it, and then you could even do standstills. I might even be doing standstill here. I can't remember. Nope, a little run up, nothing too crazy, but averaging 2.64, it's kind of a must get. I need to get another one to stay up with, or to keep up with Johnny here too.
Yeah, if you're on a lead card, this is a hole that you're kicking yourself if you get the 3.
And shout out to Greg Barsby, who made one of the longest putts of the year on this hole. Check out that skins coverage from here, Cold Hollows from August.
Not only did he make it, he called it halfway through the flight and still had maybe 40 feet to travel. I mean, what a boss.
He's a pro's pro. Gotta love it.
Evan catches one early, but he's somewhat fortunate to catch a second, because if you go down that slope entirely, it can be very, very dangerous. Let's see if he can scramble.
Yeah, look at that scramble shot by Evan. Very impressive there. And you're only going to get that touch shot from Vermont. Being from Vermont, I feel like, or New England.
Yeah, that shot is hard to appreciate exactly how technical it was. Well done, Evan. There's Johnny getting his 3rd birdie in a row. Great part of the course to be shredding.
So you want to take a guess on how many birdies this hole had?
21.
For 32 players or 34 players, it was close. 15 birdies.
Okay,
so good amount.
And great putt from you, Raivis. Nice.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I again, to keep up with Johnny and Clayton here, I really felt like I needed to make some of these birdies, which you don't want that feeling really, but it's lead cards. Do or die here, you know.
Absolutely. Here's hole 6, another technical hole, not very long. However, getting up over this shelf is everything on this hole. And it gets to a serious choke point right when you need to get over those rocks. It favors the forehand. You can turn over a backhand, although I find that is a slightly sneakier play. Here's Johnny throwing a forehand, which is a rare sight indeed. It ends up going 2 straight. Probably not the miss he envisioned, but I think he'll have a long putt.
How about that warm-up with that javelin, kind of routine there?
I may have to take that. It's at least for the intimidation factor.
I love it. And I'm going to be taking the non-traditional backhand route. And I always feel confident with this Essence backhand shot, even though I've been working on the forehand, but I don't have anything like Clayton. Look how just textbook and routine it is for him. He's way up there, and he's going to have a putt.
You guys mind if I tell you?
Yeah, that tie-dye T-bird that he's thrown, he actually since has lost, unfortunately, but he throws that disc incredibly well, and he can get it to shape up most any fairway.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of incredibly well shot, there was Evan with his Firebird, and he's going to be CTP, folks.
Yeah, he was only a matter of feet from the pin. That's just textbook forehand from that range.
My gosh, Johnny, are you seriously running that?
Maybe he thought because of the slope in the back he could give it a bit.
Yeah,
also, you give Johnny 3 birdies in a row, and all he's thinking about is getting a 4th.
A little greedy there, but I actually did the same thing. It's your great call with the backstop there. That's the only reason I think we're both being a little aggressive there. And here's Clayton with just a very routine birdie for him, and making it interesting now. He is tied up with Johnny Betts.
Both of you also, it must be said, you and Johnny both had great runs. They were not far out from bringing it in from Circle 2. So
this card was amazing, right? So Evan represents the Disc Golf Pro Tour. He works for them. He's one of the event coordinators. You got Clayton, who's into photography. He's also into course design. He's building his own course from Vermont. And then you got Johnny, who I met 10 years ago, sleeping on hole 18 at his course. This is just one of my favorite cards of the year, if not decade.
Oh, absolutely. Johnny's the godfather of Vermont disc golf, is how we call him. And none of this would be happening if it weren't for the early foundations that Johnny laid up at Black Falls. This is hole 7, a par 4 that has a very technical drive, though distance is not a premium on this hole. Then you come into this heavily wooded fairway. There are 2 lanes through it, but even if you have a great landing spot, you have to have very good touch approaching the green.
I love wooded holes like this. It's tight off the tee. You could probably get rid of 1 tree right there, but other than that, obviously it's a signature hole, right? This is the one that you're going to be looking towards getting at and making sure that you just either par or play smart off the tee, because it can bite you, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Clayton's obviously in a great spot. He just knows this course so well.
Yeah, and Clayton committed to going in the inside gap, which if you have a good power forehand, does bite off a lot more of the hole, though if you're clipping something, you're clipping it early. There's Evan, early turnover with a buzz. He throws that buzz really, really well. Mm-hmm. He should be in a great spot.
Yeah, and if you remember, Johnny got into trouble with this disc last year on the left side, and he absolutely pures it this year.
Yeah, I was on the card with him that day. That was a brutal turn of events, but he's not willing to go down that road again.
No, I think he suffered a double bogey, and we all got off the tee really well here. That's some impressive shots for averaging 3.8.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually in a really great spot here, and I'm taking the P1X, but obviously I have to fight a tunnel shot hallway here. And my P1X just decided to flip over, it's kind of warm out. So I've realized that my P1X likes to be a little more flippy out when it's warm.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a veteran call. Clayton approaching with his zone. He elects to go for the left fairway, which does open up a little bit more late. So if you get through that initial gap, you're usually getting a good putt.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. And Clayton, he could have chosen to take the Annie. He has a lot of options with that forehand. And I really like where Johnny landed. I wish I was right there. Look at his hallway shots, a lot shorter than mine.
He got a long way up there. That's a pretty incredible drive, especially for throwing the backhand on this hole. And then Evan got even farther. This is
being 50 years old.
Exactly.
So that's what shows you this hole doesn't really, you don't need to have that much distance, but he got a really good drive. So I'm just going to be laying up for my 4. I'm really not trying to play it dumb and have a long comeback.
This is a hole that Clayton always says he's hoping to 2, but
well,
it's a rare thing. But Clayton's a bit of a madman, you know. When he starts charging, there's no stopping him.
Well, should I call you a madman? Because I'm looking at the stats, and it looks like you got the Eagles, sir.
No, when I did it, it was calculated and cool. No madness from me.
Tell us more. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so a couple of birdies. I actually feel very left out here because Evan's going to be tapping his for his 3, and I ruined the star frame on a very hard par 4.
Hole 8, another tricky hole. This one has a bit of a design influence from Johnny Betts. In fact, when you started the drone fly, you could see that there's an incredibly narrow gap. If you've ever been to Black Falls, he likes to throw in a bit of a sucker gap on every hole. That being said, he then often walks up and pures it. But the traditional route we flew down, it's right to left. Most people would think it's a stock backhand hyzer, but you'd see a lot of players going with the forehand. I do it. Clayton does it. You get a great slide if you do the forehand and it matches the slope, and he should be very, very close.
I think that was his Z-Flex buzz. I'm not entirely sure, but he's up there. And for being 254 feet and averaging 2.91, this is a technical tight hole, and it's difficult.
Evans looks like it just slightly flexes out on him. The height and the angle looked absolutely ideal. I think it just pushed a little bit long, but he should still have a putt.
Mm-hmm. Johnny's going to be throwing his comment on a nice hyzer here. Look at this.
Get in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was really pumped for him because he's playing really well at this moment, right? He has the opportunity to win, too.
Absolutely. I mean, almost skipping it in there for the ace as well. And you don't see, the Comet is not a particularly fast disc, and it's that larger diameter. You don't necessarily see them skip that often, but I mean, that's so close to going in. It's not even right.
Yeah. After seeing those shots, I'm a little timid here, but I'm going to be throwing my MD3 and hopefully just getting down there. That's not an easy gap, folks. I mean, it's tighter than it looks, and that traditional route is even more crazy.
Yeah, and also the gap you're looking at from the tee box, that you can feel like you've hit it perfectly, and it gets even narrower around the corner. So it's a tricky one.
Mm-hmm. Even this upshot, you just want to play safely and just take my par and see if these other guys can get a birdie, continue their hot streak.
Yeah, Clayton is probably just inside the circle. Great drive and a great putt.
Yeah, I still can't get over that this average 2.91, so the same as hole 6, and I find hole 6 way more difficult.
Yeah, I agree. That is interesting. I mean, maybe it's because if you get the good ground play on this hole late, you can get a lot closer to the pin, whereas on 6, you rarely slide after your shot contacts. Evan just barely low. He's a tremendous putter. I'm sure he was hoping to get that one, even though it was just a little bit farther out than he had hoped.
Yeah, Evan's off to a little bit of a slow start. He's only 1 down through the front right now. Meanwhile, Johnny Betts and Clayton, they're about 3 or 4 down, and I am around 2 down. So hole 9, this is a new change. What are your thoughts here? This is, I think, one of the most awesome changes and actually one of the more difficult shots of the day here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this change is fantastic. They did a ton of work to cut out this massive new section to the fairway. As we're flying now, we're coming over a river that plays down through. The river and everything left of the river is out of bounds. If you go too far right up the slope that we can now see on the right part of the screen, there is also out of bounds. You're throwing into an island fairway, and then you get down to this incredibly guarded green, which is also very fast. The back slope you can't quite catch from this angle. It's incredibly difficult to get all the way down there.
Yeah, and then Clayton's actually playing it really smart. He's just kind of like letting the disc do the work, little tilt, nose we're down, and he's going to be up there for a pretty routine 3 save. And for 391 feet and averaging 3.51 over par, this is the toughest hole of the day, actually. And I really like the change. Johnny actually goes OB to the right there. I totally forgot there was OB on the right. I would just like to see maybe one change, which is, Evan got really rewarded for barely making it down there. Meanwhile, I barely just missed my shot, and I have the same drop zone putt as him.
I have had the exact same thought. I think that hole will get tweaked throughout the coming years. It was brand new for this tournament, so I'm sure that they were looking at the data and seeing where they can make improvements. It theoretically is a drivable green if you either skirt through these trees or ride the river all the way down, but it's an incredibly risky shot. I think getting a 3 on this hole is getting a stroke on a lot of the field.
Well, speaking of that, there's only 3 birdies, right? So, I mean, I just would like to see it maybe push back 75 feet, make it a true par 4, right? And then that drop zone becomes a little more fair and all that stuff. So
yeah, I think that would be a good change.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. This is the front 9 coverage. You can see Clayton's kind of taking a demanding lead with 6 down and keeping up with Johnny and plus some. What were your thoughts there, Angus, on the front 9?
Well, the front 9 is definitely where you want to get a lot of the scoring done. There are some really tricky holes on the back and a couple chances to get a big number. But look here, we have Jacob Moore from Chase Guard. He's sneaking into the equation here. Jacob's a great player, so unfortunately we don't get to see any of his shots in this coverage, but we'll be keeping track of him as we roll into the back 9.
Yeah, and if you'd like to see coverage of Jacob Moore, you can actually check out last year's lead card, filmed him there. And you're right, he is actually about 4 down at this moment and keeping up with Evan, Johnny, and Clayton. So let's see what happens on the back 9 here. Thanks for staying tuned, everyone. Let's see if we can give you some more jams here. And of course, we figured, why not throw some highlights over these jams because it's Cold Hollows. We like to party up here.
Far from Jeffersonville, back up in the woods of Bakersfield, there lived an old hut made of earth and wood, saying, Johnny, Johnny, be good tonight. He never learned to read and to write so well, but he can play his guitar like ringing a bell. I said, go. I said, you better be good. Sitting in the trees of the railroad tracks. Old engineer in the train.
Yeah, and big thank you to Johnny Betts. He's always influential in getting a great band and perfectly dialed sound in at this event. It's one of the premier camping weekends for the Disc Golf Vermont Tour, that's for sure. I've been talking to a lot of players since the season ended, and nearly all of them said that this was their fan favorite event of the year. So again, a shout out to Curtis and Jade Rogers, who own Cold Hollow and maintain it, and the entire kind of northern Vermont disc golf scene. The community that comes out of this course is second to none in our state.
We had a great time during Worlds, and then this was just another weekend to top it all off. And shout out to the Disc Golf Vermont Tour for always making tee times and kind of scheduling things around people's engagement, especially on the off nights and evenings. And thanks again to Cold Hollows, Curtis, Jade, Schyuler. This coverage wouldn't have been possible without you. Got to give you a big shout out. You did a fantastic job. Let's see what happens on the back nine, folks. Thanks for staying tuned.